Hello everyone, my name is Karina. I go by Kartsy on social media, and in today's video I am showing you the build of a ballet bodice. I made this bodice as the final project in my advanced costume construction class, and I could not have been happier with it. I think during this semester and my previous semester as well in this course, I've been able to really focus on honing in my skills and making my technical ability better. A lot has happened since the beginning of the year. I took on 6 classes, even though technically the credits kind of add up to being 5 classes. I also worked on commissions, I was working at my job, and to top it all off, I was accepted into my BFA program of study. For those of you who don't know, a BFA is significantly more intense than a BA. It's a more rigid program of study where you invest more of your time into the arts and thus have a lot more classes. To put it into perspective, I transferred into my university with a 2-year associate's degree, and then after completing 1 year at the university, I still have 3 more years to go to complete that BFA. So that's a total of about 6 years towards that degree. My program of study is called Theater Design and Technology, so all my classes revolve around scenic, lighting, sound, and costume construction and design. But my primary focus is as a costume technician. So for my ballet bodice, I decided to go with something a little bit more heart-shaped. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to lean more towards this classical style of ballet with this elegant feeling. So I also wanted to lean into taking influence from corsetry. And so in order to do this, I wanted to emphasize the waistline as much as possible, and I played around with the placement of certain decor, such as lace. So later on in the video, you see I will play with lace being placed at the top and also on the hips. So without further ado, let's go on and start the ballet bodice. The first 2 panels of my ballet bodice was quilted with some stiff stuff. Prussian tape was then cut and ironed and applied to the bodice so that I could have some spots where I can insert some steel boning. And then cut down to right before it will be seamed together with other panels. And as you can see, this created a very beautiful and interesting front panel that you can actually only appreciate when you view the garment on the inside. Then I went along and hand basted all of my layers together using a matching thread. So what I ended up doing is I ended up using primarily silk for this project, although there are some details that are made from polyester blends. As for the bodice itself, a lot of the steel boning has already been inserted into the Prussian tape, and I went ahead and serged down these seam allowances. And as you can see, that waistline is matching up beautifully. So this is the fabric I'll be using for the cording. I also have just got this lace. It just came in the mail, and so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be experimenting later on with different dyes to see what colors I can get. Okay, so dyeing the lace did not exactly work. It did not turn into a color that I really wanted, but it's okay because I was smart and I cut the lace in half. So I still have the pre-existing color of the lace. So what I'm just going to go ahead and do is use this color. And then in the future, I'll reuse this for another project just by dyeing it black, because I do have an upcoming project which black lace would be great for. So far what I'm thinking of doing is having it be that this edge right here points out to emphasize that heart shape I'm going for, so the pointness of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the lace and I'm going to keep it going down, up in a triangle, and then I'll try to cut away certain parts of the lace and overlap it and make some invisible seams. Okay, so the biggest thing I have to solve right now is that I have to attach the lace, but at the same time I have to piece the lace together, but there is a cording that's going to go right here. The cording is going to go like this, so I have this weird juggle I have to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this section right here open for now, baste this down, then I'm going to add the cording, sew up this seam together, and overlap this, and then sew this down. Very confusing to explain, but I'll try to show you. Now that the lace is all basted down and attached to the bodice, I'm going to go ahead and start making my cording. Cutting on the bias my fabric, I created long strips that I sewed together to create bias binding that will be the casing for the cording. Now when I'm sewing in the cording into the bias binding, I'm not doing it halfway, I'm doing it where there's extra left over. So later on when I sew on this cording, I have some room to fold over and to finish off the inside of the interior of the bodice. And I'm gonna go ahead and run a basting stitch at the bottom to give me something to follow when I'm doing the cording. So now there is a basting line for me to follow. And now I'm going in and I'm doing the cording following along with the basted line. So what I am now doing is I have these boning cases that I've made with the bone inserted, and this is steel. So I'm going to be putting it down, looking for the points that I have marked, and then catch stitching this bone into place on top of the seam allowance. This right here is a sampler I've done in class, learning different techniques, and as you can see, this is what it's going to look like in the end. There is a lot of handwork that goes into this bodice. So much handwork, in fact, that I ended up having to give myself 2 days of rest for my hand because I was working them raw. It takes a lot of pressure, even with a thimble, to get the needle through all these different layers in the seam allowance. And on top of that, I had to catch stitch all of the seam allowances down onto the fabric. I think one of the biggest things I learned during my advanced custom construction class was the concept of mitered corners. As you can see, to achieve this point, the fabric has been folded inside, and then now it just lays like perfectly smooth and flat. Because before this, I had no idea how corners on the interior were done and made to look really pretty, because in my most previous corset-like garment, I made a embroidered corset, and in that, with all my different shapes going on as I was doing bias binding, I ended up succeeding in covering all my raw edges, but it wasn't done the most beautifully it could have been. And now one thing I'm learning with this ballet bodice is all of the techniques that can be done to make something look just as beautiful in the interior as it is in the outside. And that to me is a sign of great craftsmanship. So I am in the predicament that I need to install a hook and eye tape closure for the Ballet Bodice, but my current zipper foot for my Singer modern plastic machine is not a zipper foot I like, and upon using it I realized, oh my goodness, this is not gonna work because the zipper foot here is super wide, and what that does is that it let me get as close as I could if it was just this piece right here, and it's actually blocking me from getting close to the material so that I can sew it without some sort of weird 1/8 of an inch-ness away from where I need to go. And this machine, as you can see, has the proper zipper foot that I require for this journey of mine. The only problem is I fixed this machine. I had to go up for repair because it had been sitting in my house for a long time, all throughout my life. We got it fixed. It should be operational, but ever since I got it fixed, I haven't really myself tried it out, and that is a sin on my half. Because I really should have, because this is a really good machine. So I just need to see if this works, and hopefully it does. And I believe, yeah, this is my back stitch, okay. Maybe I didn't install the bobbin properly. Okay, looks like the bobbin may have not been sewn. Or was it sewn? So it was starting to pick up something. Okay, I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna fiddle with her, and then we'll see if we can get this to work. After everything to do with the interior and the closure method was finished, all I had to focus on left was the exterior decor. But as I was staring at the bodice, once all the lace was sewn down, I realized that something was missing. So I pulled out a rhinestone kit and decided to bedazzle it. And let's give it a go. So after doing the 4mm, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to put in some 2mm rhinestones. And here is the finished ballet bodice. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you feel so inclined, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions, please make sure to leave them in the comments below, and I'll make sure to get right back to you.